This is why NBA playoff basketball is so crazy, because you just never know what's going to happen. First half of the Spurs game yesterday versus the Portland Trailblazers, Victor Wembanyama gets the pull chair from under him. Normal basketball play, but because he wasn't expecting it, he falls, and he's trying to make a pass before he can get his hands down to brace himself. He takes a hard fall, and he lands essentially right on his jaw right here. Right, and one of the scarier falls that I've seen, because he legitimately went unconscious for a second, and now he's in concussion protocols. And as you know, with concussion protocols, it's pretty set in stone, the timeline. You have to wait and see, because concussion symptoms can be so unpredictable. Sometimes it could take 3-4 days for symptoms to even set in. Sometimes you have no symptoms and you're good to go. So you have to wait at least 5 days, usually more, just to see what's going to happen. And let's say, he comes back 8 to 10 days. That means he's going to miss, the next 2-3 games, most likely, come back for a game 5, best case scenario, most likely a game 6, maybe even a game 7, worst case scenario. And all that to be said, this team without Victor Wembanyama is very on par with the Portland Trailblazers. I'd maybe, depending on the day, even give the Portland Trailblazers the slight edge, right? Like, that series completely turns around with Wemby not on the court, right? And first and foremost, obviously, we want to make sure Wemby's okay. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Concussions can be scary. The way he fall was scary. So we hope he's okay, nothing serious. He can come back, after 2 games. Hopefully that's it. And he can make the series as competitive as possible, but also just for health's sake, right? He could just be good. But just talking on the basketball side of things, that makes the series very interesting, right? Because not only is it 1-1 now, but it's 1-1 going back to Portland, right? And these next 2 games in Portland are going to be very interesting, because I think there's going to be a sense of urgency out of Portland, knowing that San Antonio doesn't have their best player on the court, right? And I also think, again, that they just match up really well with the San Antonio Spurs when Wemby's not on the court. I think they match up okay with Wemby on the court, because they're a physical, athletic team. But obviously, Wemby's just such a unicorn that it's tough to find something to really match him. You know what I'm saying? But I think they match up okay with their athleticism, with their skill, with Denny being such a good downhill driver and initiator of contact, right? And stuff like that. So I think they have some things that make it so that they can keep games competitive versus the Spurs, even when Wemby's on the court. But when Wemby's off the court, it just completely changes the dynamic. So I wouldn't be surprised if, it's 2-2 going back to San Antonio, and maybe even 3-1 in Portland's favor going back to San Antonio, and the series becomes very interesting. But all that to be said, I think the main key on whether or not San Antonio is going to be able to sustain themselves in the absence of Wemby, over the course of these next few games or not, is going to come down to De'Aaron Fox in large part, right? Because he's been asked to take a lesser role to help some of those younger guys like Wemby, like Stephon Castle, and just make the team a little bit more well-rounded. But he's the guy who has led a team to the playoffs before. He's been, the best player on a contending team, right? Whatever that means to you. And he has shown that he can be a high-level offensive engine, right? Like, he can get to that mid-range shot, and he can really make some things happen. He's electric in the open court. He's so fast. He can get by people. It's impossible to stay in front of him, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to see how San Antonio shifts their play style and see if they allow him to open his game up a little bit more and really get into attack mindset, because I think they're going to need him to do that for them to win the series, sustain the series until Wemby gets back. But I do think if he steps up his level of play, this team is good enough to beat Portland without Wemby on the court, right? I will say that. But I think that's the key, right? I think it's going to depend on everybody else staying at their same level, right? Stephon Castle producing at a high level, being efficient. Devin Vassell shooting the heck out of the ball. Luke Cornett coming in, giving quality minutes. That team playing connective basketball. And then De'Aaron Fox turning back the clock a little bit, even though he's not old or anything, and really just playing that high-level elite point guard, elite scoring guard basketball that we know he can play, and just making the game easier on his team, because we know that's what he can do. But if they can do that, I think they still win the series. I think that they could go into Portland and win 1 or 2 for sure. But if not, I see Portland having the edge until Wemby gets back. So that's kind of my synopsis of what I think is going to happen in the next couple games, depending on, how the Spurs decide to utilize De'Aaron Fox, how De'Aaron Fox responds. And don't forget, right, when you've been used to a role for an extended amount of time, it's tough at times to just all of a sudden change, right, just on a whim. Now, great basketball players do it all the time, but it is tough to all of a sudden be like, you know what, I got to put my fingerprints all over this game, even though I've been asked to take a lesser role. So let's see what happens. I think that should be the goal for the San Antonio Spurs. I think if you're Portland, you got to go at these guys. You got to try and put them down while you can. I expect Denny to have a much better game in their next game than he did last night. Scoot Henderson played terrific, right? They got some good minutes out of good guys, but I expect Portland to be much more aggressive at home and realize the opportunity that's at their hands right now and try to go take advantage of it. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.